Alright, so these are white-line geckos. This one right here is the female, and her name is Mrs. Stripe. And this one is a Mr. Stripe. I'll back up. Now, I actually got these a little over 4 years ago, and they've been prolific breeders ever since. I believe that they were both wild caught. I actually got them at 2 different pet stores when I used to live in Pennsylvania. These geckos are closely related to the tokay gecko. And they also have pretty much the same requirements as the tokay. They are arboreal. They like high humidity, tropical climates. Now, one of the cool things about these geckos, and also tokay geckos, they are egg lures. Now, if you don't know what that means, being an egg lure, that means whenever she is going to lay her eggs, instead of laying them, in the substrate or in the dirt, moss, whatever, she will lay them right on the glass. She'll stick maybe like 1 or 2, usually 2, and she'll stick them right on the glass. And they're hard, they're not soft, and if you were to try to remove them, they would break, and then the babies would die inside. So whenever they lay their eggs, you just kind of gotta let them be, and just wait for them to hatch out. Now the parents do guard the eggs, especially the male, right here. And whenever the babies hatch out, you don't ever have to worry about them eating the babies, because they'll actually guard the babies just as well. Now these guys love to eat insects. They also do like fruit every once in a while. They really like applesauce. They don't really like crested gecko diet too much. Well, at least the male does not. He will not eat it. This one and my other female, sometimes they'll eat the crested gecko diet, but most often not. Here, let me put Mr. Stripe up there so I can show you Mrs. Stripe. Now, Mrs. Stripe, let me get closer. You can see on her neck those 2 big bulges. Those are actually her calcium sacs. And what she does, she stores calcium in there for her egg production. That way she'll lay nice healthy eggs with a nicely developed shell. And what I do for her, since they're always breeding and always laying eggs, I'll stick in a little dish of calcium in her cage, and whenever she needs to, she just goes down and licks up the calcium and then stores it right there in her calcium sacs. Now she is gravid right now, and you might be able to see the egg in there. I'm not really sure. The egg will look like a light spot. Here we go. Right here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this light spot right here in her belly, that's one of her eggs that she's going to lay. And this is what her belly looks like. You can see it in her belly too. Yeah, but this is Mrs. Stripe. Such a cutie, aren't ya? Yes, you are. Now, I actually have their first baby that they ever produced for me, and it's Darian's pet white-line gecko. It was his first pet reptile ever that he's ever had, and her name is Necrid, and I'm going to show her to you in just a couple minutes when I'm done showing you these guys. Now you'll see this tail here. Instead of it being kind of straight, this tail can actually curl up. I don't know if she probably won't do it for me. They really only curl their tails up when they are stressed out or afraid. And since these guys are pretty tame, their tails are kind of relaxed. But they do curl up, almost like a chameleon. They don't really grab onto stuff though, like the crested geckos. They're just kind of there. Now I'll show you Mr. Stripe. Let's see here. Now on the end of Mr. Stripe's tail looks kind of different. Can you see that? It's like all blotchy. That's because this part of his tail, now this is before I got him, it must have came off, and this is how it grew back. Like that. Yeah, but this is Mr. Stripe. They do like to jump, just like the crested geckos. And these guys do become very tame, as you can see. They make excellent pets. The trick with any gecko, really, is to never grab them and never pet them hard. So if you do ever pet a gecko, you always want to do like your lightest touch like this. Geckos have very delicate skin, so whenever you grab them or you pet them hard, they become afraid of you and they'll run away and not ever become tame. Now the cool thing about these geckos that I absolutely love is their toe pads. And I'll show you the females because hers are bigger, because she's a bigger gecko. But I love their toe pads. They're just huge. Huge for a gecko. I don't know if you can see. See how big her feet are. I love them. And I like whenever they walk too, they flip their toes up backwards so that they don't stick to anything. It's pretty cool. I don't know if you can see it if she walks on me. Oh! I think she's about had enough of this camera. You don't like the camera. Are you camera shy? And as you just saw, they do stick their tongues out to taste stuff, just like crested geckos and tokay geckos and most other geckos. Alright, so now you've seen my breeding pair of white-line geckos, Mr. and Mrs. Stripe. Now we'll go upstairs and see my son's white-line gecko, which is their first baby. Alright, so now we've got Necrid. And this is the first baby from Mr. and Mrs. Stripe. Darian's first pet reptile. And she is very, very spoiled. Very spoiled. Rotten baby. Aren't ya? Yes, you are. You're so cute. Yeah, and as you can see, her tail looks a little bit different than her parents' tails. And this is because whenever we first moved here to Colorado, my kids had her out and they were holding her in the kitchen. And I guess she got spooked because she jumped on the floor and ran behind our refrigerator. And my husband had to move the refrigerator, and whenever he did, I guess it totally freaked her out and she dropped her tail. Yeah, the kids were beside themselves. Sierra ran upstairs screaming in her room, and Darian started crying on the couch. Of course, you know, they thought she was gonna die. But so then I had to teach them about how, you know, lizards do that for self-defense and, you know, it'll grow back. So because it was so much of her tail that got lost, you can see right here, it kind of grew back funny. And that's how it is. Yep, so here's Necrid. So now you've seen all of our white-line geckos. If I can turn this off without looking at it.